Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram
Chaiva
Daivanarottam
Devam Saraswati Vyasam
Devim
Devi
Saraswatim
Saraswati
Vyasam
Vyasam
Jayam Udiraye
Tato
Tato
Jayam
Jayam
Udirayet
Udiraye.
Srinvatam Swakatah Krishna
Shrinvatam
Shrinvatam
Sukata
Swakatha
Krishna
Krishna
Shravana Kirtanam
Punyashravana
Punyashravana
Kirtana
Kirtana
Vidyantasto Hyabadrani
Hridayantasto
Hridayantasto
Bhadrani
Dhunoti Sahrit Satam
Vidhunoti
Vidunoti Suhrittatam
Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu
Nashtaprayeshu
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke
Bhagavate Uttama Shloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Nayishti
Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Krishnaya Vasudevaya
Devaki Nandanaya Cha
Devaki
Nandanaya Cha
Nandagopakumaraya
Nandakumaraya
Maraya
Govindaya Namo Namaha
Govindaya Namo
Govindaya
Namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we'll continue. I think today's attendance is a little low, maybe because of temple program. Yeah, let's begin. So we are discussing 7th chapter. The chapter is titled The Son of Droṇa Punished. So the context for today's discussion is like in the last chapter, we all know that Vyasadeva was instructed by his spiritual master Narada Muni on the importance of compiling Srimad-Bhagavatam for the welfare of jivas. And then he leaves the place, and Saunakad Rishis, they wanted to ask further about what exactly Vyasadeva did right after his spiritual master leaves the place. And in the last class, we discussed about 7 verses beginning of the 7th chapter, which primarily covered what Vyasadeva did right after his spiritual master left the place, which basically is that he sat down in meditation in his ashram and meditated on the Lord. And what happened in his meditation? What did he see? What was the vision he had? So when Vyasadeva, on the instruction of his spiritual master, sat in meditation in ashram, what did he see? Anybody remembers? 2 things. He has the vision of the Lord and also vision of Maya, external potency of the Lord. Simultaneously he had the vision of both. Because he is about to compile for the welfare of the jivas, he had to basically include all the subjects which are his external energy, so that the jiva can ultimately overcome material energy to actually approach the spiritual supreme, right? So spiritual reality. So that was the purpose he had, so that he can compile literature encompassing both knowledges. So that's why 9 cantos of Srimad-Bhagavatam was dedicated for the process of sarga, visarga, poshanam, utaya, all these concepts, which is basically creation, subcreation, manvantaras, various incarnations, pastimes of various devotees in various manvantras. All these together teach us so many principles, and when we are fully ready, then 10th canto ultimately gives the summum bonum, which is the ultimate wisdom of Srimad-Bhagavatam. So that was the idea. So after he had the vision, he also glorifies Srimad-Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva. In the last 3 verses of first section, up to verse 8, that is covered. So we will discuss after that. Can I see the screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Prabhu, you can say.
So this section 7 to 11 verses, 8 to 11. So this is about Vyasadeva teaching Srimad-Bhagavatam to his son Sukadeva Goswami. Sasamhitam Bhagavati
Sahitam Bhagavatam
Kritvanukramya Chatmajam
Krutvam
Kritvanukramyatatmajam
Sukam Adhyapayam Asha
Sukham adhyapayam asha
Nivritti Niratam Muni.
nivritti niratam muni.
Nivrutti.
Please read Nitin Prabhu.
Yeah. The great sage Vyasadeva, after compiling the Srimad-Bhagavatam and revising it, taught it to his own son, Sri Sukadeva Goswami, who was already engaged in self-realization.
So according to the commentary of Acharyas, Srimad Bhagavatam was written already by Vyasadeva, but after Narada Muni's instruction, he focused on the subjects. So revising it and taught to his son. So that was mentioned here that way. Because he revised it according to the conclusions of teachings of Sri Narada Muni. And he taught that knowledge to his son, Sukadeva Goswami. Please read, Prabhu.
Srimad Bhagavatam is so made that one becomes at once engaged in the path of self-realization simply by hearing the topics. Although it is especially meant for the Paramhamsa or those who are totally engaged in self-realization, it works into the depths of the hearts of those who may be worldly men.
Srimad Bhagavatam is not only for worldly people who are engaged in sense gratification. It helps them. Not only it helps them, it also helps Paramahamsas who are already engaged in self-realization fully. Yeah.
Amongst mundane scholars, there is some diversity of opinion as to the date of compilation of Srimad Bhagavatam. It is, however, certain from the text of the Bhagavatam that it was compiled before the disappearance of King Parikshit and after the departure of Lord Krishna. When Maharaj Parikshit was ruling the world as the king of the Bharatvarsh, he chastised the personality of Kali. According to revealed scripture and astrological calculation, the age of Kali is in its 5000th year. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled not less than 5000 years ago. Mahabharat was compiled before Srimad Bhagavatam, and the Puranas were compiled before Mahabharat. That is an estimation of the date of compilation of different Vedic literatures. The synopsis of Srimad Bhagavatam was given before the detailed description under the instruction of Narad. Srimad Bhagavatam is the science for following the path of Nivritti Marga.
Most of the Vedic literature was Pravritti Marga. Pravritti Marga means Anybody knows the definition? Pravritti Marga. The pursuit of sense gratification in a religious manner.
Okay.
Fulfilling one's desires through Vedic means. Pravritti Marga. What is the other term for Pravritti Marga? What is the regular term we use?
Karma yoga, bro.
Karma?
Is not yoga, bro. Karma kanda.
Karma kanda, correct.
So Karma kanda is exactly Pravritti Marga, where one follows various Vedic rituals to attain, fulfill his desires, right? But Srimad-Bhagavatam is Nivritti Marga. Nivritti Marga means exclusively for self-realization.
Nishkam karma or akarma.
Nishkam Karma Yoga is neutral.
Neutral, but this is akarma, right?
Yeah, this is more devotional.
Devotional.
Bhagavatam is pure devotion service.
Yes.
Nishkama Karma Yoga means you may desire to do certain thing, okay? But you are not attached to it. You do it out of duty.
Right.
There is a potential for you to be attached to the work itself. Maybe you are not attached to the fruits of the work. It is like, for example, Bhakti and Karma Yoga. What is the difference? For example, if somebody comes to your home, okay, and you like to make some, some food items that you like. For example, you like aloo paratha, Nitin Prabhu.
Yeah.
And so you made it, and now when the guest comes, you feed him, right? You feed him nicely, whatever amount he wants, but you feed, but you cooked it because you liked it, right? That is more or less like Nishkam Karma Yoga.
Yeah.
Bhakti Yoga means you inquire from the person, what do you really like?
What he likes. And then do accordingly.
And
yes.
cook only for his pleasure, right? Whether you may not even like it. Maybe he likes Karela, you don't like it. But you cook for his pleasure, even though it is paying for you to take it afterwards. So that is the difference between
Wonderful.
Bhakti Yoga and Nishkama Karma Yoga. Even Jnana Yoga, all these were driven by one's own desire. Jnana Yoga was why somebody performs Jnana Yoga? He's frustrated with material, material enjoyment, right? He wants to get out of this three more influence of the modes of material nature. So that's why all these other paths, there is a motivation in those. Only in bhakti there is no motivation. Bhakti is done exclusively for the pleasure of the Lord.
Right? Yes, Prabhu. So Prabhu, question here. Srimad-Bhagavatam is compiled before Narad Muni visits Vasudev. I still don't get that because I thought
it was mentioned. I mean, I don't have the details, but it was mentioned that it was compiled, but it was again, it was corrected, or it was focused in the right direction. Maybe some sections which are not, purely devotional or removed, right? By correction and repetition, it's clearly mentioned here. Anukramya. So after the section of Narada, Vyasdev was absolutely clear. I need to compile a literature that completely, purely focused on glorification of the Supreme Lord. He's very clear about the instruction, and so accordingly, he has he did the rework, correction, and repetition. And after doing that, he actually taught his son, and his son learned it so much better that both Vyasadev and his guru, both of them want to hear when Sukadeva Goswami was speaking. Even though, a particular teacher teaches a student absorbed so much the message so well that the teacher himself want to hear from the student. So that was the capacity of Sukadeva Goswami. We'll hear that more.
Yes. So one more question. If Srimad-Bhagavatam was compiled much before, even Parikshit Maharaj was born, or after he was born, so It is.
It's not, okay, let me clarify. It's not, it came as a conversation between Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami. That is how the, whatever compilation we have is made up.
Correct.
So what was given was the seed instructions, and what was written was also, I think, is composed was also the seed composition, not the exact composition as we see. What we see,
all the verses since beginning of the first canto of the first chapter, they were not originally compiled by Vyasdeva. Is that correct? Or
no, it was compiled in principle,
okay.
right? And he narrated also, to Sukadeva Goswami.
Okay.
But what is available to us is the conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami. The same composition, the same lessons,
Yes.
as retold by Sukadeva Goswami, right?
Suta Goswami.
But again, the lessons are same, but in a conversation, suppose I need to teach a lesson, whatever comes is according to the questions and answers, right? It goes accordingly. It's not going to be the exact thing that was originally I learned from my teacher, for example, right? It's the principle is same, but the details vary a little bit here and there based on the questions and answers.
Question and answer. So Suta Goswami did rephrase the Bhagavatam. Is that correct way to say?
Correct, yeah. He again retold the same, because he was an attendant.
Yes.
In the
Original Bhagavatam.
The original teachings was conducted, so he retold again Saunaka Rishis.
Yes, got it now.
Now the final version available to us is, it includes the conversation between both these parties. One is, Suta Goswami with Saunaka Rishis.
Yes.
And, which was, again, includes the discussion of Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. So in a way, you can say the final version that we have is actually Sutta versus Saunaka Rishi's conversation.
Correct. Got it. Thank you very much.
Shaunaka Uvacha. Savai Nivritti Nirataha. Sarvatropeksha Ko Muni.
Muni.
Tashyava Brahatin Etam. Atma Rama Samabhyasat. Please, Davila, come to me.
Yeah. Translation. Sri Shaunaka asked Sutta Goswami, Sri Sukadev Goswami was already on the path of self-realization, and thus he was pleased with his own self. So why did he take the trouble to undergo the study of such a vast literature?
So the question by Saunaka Rishi is very relevant, because Sukadeva Goswami was already a liberated soul. He's already, he's above the three modes already. He's perfectly on the path of self-realization. And in spite of that, he's already happy and fully satisfied. He doesn't need to follow any other process of bhakti or anything. How come he took the trouble? He said trouble, it's not trouble, but he's worded it like that. Why did he have to read the literature again? Because the word Nivritti Nirataha, which means he's already perfectly situated, he's already self-realized. Atma Ramaha means one who is self-realized fully, right? One who is pleased in himself. Right? One who has realized himself, truly understands he's the soul and servant of God. He is always fully satisfied. He doesn't need any other external inputs to become happy in this world. So the question was relevant. So this verse is very important. Next verse. This was the famous Atma Rama verse. Lord Chaitanya in length discussing, we hear about Lord Chaitanya's expositions. He gave like 16 or
62 times. Yeah.
64 times, I think, right?
64, I guess.
64.
64 explanations of this verse. Suta Uvacha
Sutavacha
Atma Ramasya Munayo
Atmaramascha munayo
Nirganta Api Urikrame
nirgrantha api ukrame
Kurvanti Ahaitukim Bhaktim
kurvanti ahaitukim bhaktim
Bhuta Guno Harihi.
itam bhutha guno harihi.
Yeah. Please read, Chandra Prabhu.
Suta Goswami said, all different varieties of Atma Ramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma or spirit self, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service unto the personality of Godhead. This means that the Lord possesses transcendental qualities and therefore can attract everyone, including liberated souls.
So even for Atma Ramas, because Lord is transcendental, his qualities attract. In fact, they are more attracted. That is the reason Vyasadeva, as soon as he heard, Vyasadeva, as soon as he thought, Sukadeva Goswami was immediately attracted. He's already purified, but even when somebody is purified, one who is a self-realized person, still is immensely attracted to Krishna's qualities because they're all transcendental. The pastimes of Lord Krishna were like enchanting to anybody's heart, whether he's a materialistic person or even a self-realized person. Everybody takes pleasure in his hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam. Yeah, all kinds of, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotion service unto the personality of Godhead. So, Lord Krishna's pastimes are all transcendental, they are never material. So, this is a very detailed, Prabhupada gives wonderful purport here. Yeah. Please read from here.
The word Urukrama means the one whose activities are glorious. Krama means step. This word Urukrama specifically indicates the Lord's incarnation as Vamana, who covered the whole universe by immeasurable steps. Lord Vishnu is powerful, and his activities are so glorious that he has created a spiritual world by his internal potency and the material world by his external potency.
Everything is created by the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. And Prabhuji, internal potency is Yogamaya and external potency is Mahamaya, right? Is that how we are comprehend?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah, internal energy is all the spiritual worlds were created out of his internal potency, which is primarily his internal potency.
Radharani.
Srimad Radharani. So, but when he needs to deal with material energy, he needs the support. He wouldn't be engaged directly, so he sends who he sends?
Yogamaya.
The Yogamaya, Lord Shiva, right?
In Lord Shiva.
So both of them together help Lord Krishna in the procreation within the material. They are these. We'll learn about this in a very scientific way in second and third cantos. How exactly Shambhu Tattva helps in the process of the creation. So his glance goes in the form of Shambhu Tattva, and it further procreates within the material existence. Please.
Okay. Hetu means causal. There are many causes for one's sense satisfaction, and they can be chiefly classified as material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation, which are generally desired by progressive persons.
Continue.
As far as material enjoyments are concerned, they are innumerable, and the materialists are eager to increase them more and more because they are under the illusory energy. There is no need to the list of material enjoyments, nor can anyone in the material universe have all of them.
Yeah. So there is no limit to material enjoyments, and they're never satisfying. Right? The difference between Maya and Krishna is both are attractive, but Maya will never satisfy us. That is the main problem. It's very attractive. We see so many things, car, home, whatever. They're very attractive, but Maya would agitate our heart. But Krishna would satisfy our heart. Right? You see all the beauty in Krishna, but it's always satisfying to the heart. That's the difference between his external energy and internal energy.
Therefore, unalloyed devotion means service to the Lord without desire for the above mentioned personal benefits. And the powerful personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, can fully be satisfied by such unalloyed devotees, free from all sorts of desires for personal benefit.
To pure devotion service, one can satisfy the Lord, and naturally, once Lord is satisfied, the jiva will be very much satisfied. Yeah, and such devotion service should be free from any sorts of material desires.
When unalloyed practice of sadhana bhakti is matured into transcendental love for the Lord, the transcendental loving service of the Lord begins gradually developing into 9 progressive stages of loving service under the headings of attachment, love, affection, feelings, affinity, adherence, following ecstasy and intense feelings of separation.
So this is the gradual development. It begins with a small attachment, and then love, and then affection means real love. And then you have deep feelings for the Lord, you are attracted to the Lord, affinity. And then that's how towards the end, you have intense feelings of separation. Right? So that was executed by Lord Chaitanya. He was Yugayitam Nimishena. That verse literally means every minute is like a very, very long period for Lord Chaitanya. He was feeling separation from the Lord because he loves the Lord. Right?
No.
For example, we may not have any, we don't feel the separation from Lord because we don't have that attachment. Right? If you love somebody, you have that feeling of separation if the beloved was not there. But if you don't have that love, then you don't feel that separation. So pure devotees always feel the sense of separation from the Lord. That is the reason gopis were so much affected when Lord Krishna leaves Vrindavan. Right? In that separation, there was ecstasy, but they were always constantly thinking about Krishna, because there was a pure love between the two. Right? The process of bhakti is to develop that kind of intense feelings of love for Lord.
According to Haribhakti Sudhodaya, the import of the word itham bhuta is complete bliss. Transcendental bliss is the realization of impersonal Brahman, becomes comparable to the scanty water contained in the pit made by a cow's hoof. It is nothing compared with the ocean of bliss of the vision of personality of Godhead. The personal form of Lord Sri Krishna is so attractive that it comprehends all attraction, all bliss, and all tastes. These attractions are strong that no one wants to exchange them for material enjoyment, mystic powers, and liberation. There is no need of logical arguments in support of this statement, but out of one's own nature, one becomes attracted by the qualities of Lord Sri Krishna.
So the testimony for a devotee's advancement in Krishna consciousness is he loses the taste for material enjoyment. He's not looking for improving his sense gratification at all. Right? That is the simplest test for one's devotional advancement. Yeah, I think let's keep this one going. Hare Guna Kshipitam Matir
Hare
Gunakshiptamatir
Bhagavan Bhadarayanahi
Bhagavan Badarayani
Yani
Adhyagan Mahat Akyanam
Adhyagan
Adhyagan Mahad
Mahapakyanam
Akhyanam
Yam Vishnu Janapriyaha.
Nityam
Nityam
Vishnu
Vishnu
Janapriya.
Janapriyaha.
Yeah, Rani Mataji, can you read?
Srila Sukadeva Goswami, son of Srila Vyasadeva, was not only transcendentally powerful, he was also very dear to devotees of Lord. Thus, he underwent the study of his great narration.
So he studied Sukadeva Goswami.
By the mercy of Sri Narada, Srila Vyasadeva was able to narrate the great epic of Srimad-Bhagavatam, and by the mercy of Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadeva Goswami was able to grasp the import. The transcendental qualities of the Lord are so attractive that Srila Sukadeva Goswami became detached from being completely absorbed in impersonal Brahman and positively took up the personal activity of the Lord.
So previously, Sukadeva Goswami was he was attracted to Brahman realization, but after hearing Srimad-Bhagavatam from his father Vyasadeva, he became a pure devotee.
So Prabhu, I have a question here.
Hmm.
So Prabhu, Sukadev Goswami attracted to Brahman realization from his birth, or was he also studying something and then he attracted, and now he studied something, now he's attracted to Bhagavatam? How was the
I'm not 100% sure, Prabhu, when he learned, but I think by the time he was born, he has this knowledge, impersonal Brahman,
self-realization?
already self-realized. Yeah. So he immediately goes out. He just doesn't want to stay at home. And he, if you remember the verses before we read in the previous
Yes.
chapter,
Yes.
as soon as he comes out of the womb of the mother, he's already grown-up kid.
Yeah.
And he wants to just run away from home. He doesn't want to spend another minute at his in Grihasthashram. He just want to leave the place. But his father goes out and brings him and teaches Srimad-Bhagavatam. And he's already transcendental, but he was very much attracted to the qualities of the Lord, personal form of the Lord. Similarly, who else was transformed like this? From impersonal Brahman, practicing impersonal Brahman, and then they became a devotees. Who else was like that other than anybody remembers? Who else?
For Kumaras Prabhu?
Yes, Chatur Kumaras, for another great example. Chatur Kumaras were self-realized. They're like young boys, Brahma's children. Young boy, they look like 3-year-old. They don't even wear anything. And once they wanted to see Lord in Vaikunta, they went there. And their self-realization was impersonal Brahman. That's what they're doing until then. But then when they had the audience of the Lord, they smelled the tulsi leaves that were present at the lotus feet of the Lord. That smelling created some kind of a experience in their life. They started crying, and they immediately fell down at the feet of the Lord.
Wow.
Surrendered their life. Right? So the verse, vividly describes how exactly that whole thing happens. So it created the smelling of the tulsi leaf that was offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, created a churn in their heart. Immediately their heart was filled with devotion to the Lord. So that's why any devotional activity is extremely powerful. Like for example, we visit the deities and we pray to the Lord. It's called Vandanam. And we also smell the flower that was offered to the Lord. The same idea, just like how the Chatur Kumaras were transformed, our hearts get transformed when we smell the flower offered to the Lord. Each of the 9 limbs of the devotion process are potent like that. They can transform our heart.
Maybe we have more material coatings than they have. That's why it's taking long time.
Oh, they're already self-realized, so yeah,
Yes.
our coatings are still there. There's long way. Yeah. So now, so Saunika Rishis were asking these questions. Originally, they had in the 4th chapter, if you all remember, they asked 3 questions. The questions were primarily, what is the history of Srimad-Bhagavatam? How did it come? What are the origins? What is the inspiration? So all of what we discussed from 4th chapter until now, until the 7th chapter, 11th verse, is all about the origins of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Right? So he went on to talk about how Vyasadeva was despondent and how his spiritual master Narada Muni came and what he taught to Vyasadeva, and finally what Vyasadeva did, which is to sit down and meditate on the Lord. So all of this was the origins of Srimad-Bhagavatam. There are 2 other questions that they asked. One is, what is the story of Parikshit Maharaj? What was the, who is Parikshit Maharaj? What inspired him? Why did he actually, even though he had control on the entire world, why did he choose to hear Srimad-Bhagavatam? And why did he leave his body? So all of that, how did King Parikshit rule the world? That is about Parikshit Maharaj. That was the second, set of questions. And also they are inquired about Sukadeva Goswami. So now the section moves to the story of Parikshit Maharaj. So now he started answering about Parikshit Maharaj. Again, like, so now again, he takes a big detour over the next few chapters. He takes a very, very long detour to explain the history of Parikshit Maharaj. To tell about Parikshit Maharaj, he's going to explain about, it begins with how, the precursor to this Parikshit Maharaj going through this, all this is, there was, there is this war between Kurus and Pandavas, and then Yudhishthira Maharaj was installed as the king, and then and even before that, the sons of Pandu were killed, right? So there was no child left over to basically rule over the world. So all that history he's going to narrate, right? And then Sukadeva Goswami distracts into further topics on, how Rajasuya Yajna was performed, how Brahmastra was released, and further he, elaborates on Lord Krishna visiting, for the Aswamedha Yajna, for what is it, Rajasuya Yajna, and how he leads to Dwaraka, and then now they wanted, you're like distracted too much, come back to the topic, and then they remind him, Saunika Rishis remind him, and then again he will restart the topic. So now until the next few chapters is more of a history of what has happened that has led for Parikshit Maharaj to basically request Sukadeva Goswami to speak about Srimad-Bhagavatam. Okay,
It's like a nectar coming from Shukadeva Goswami.
he wouldn't stop. He just keeps on going to Krishna's pastimes all the time.
Pastimes.
He has to be again pulled back to actually speak about the actual story that led to Parikshit's questions. Parikshito ata rajarshe
Parikshito
Parikshito
Rajarshi.
Rajarshi.
Janma karma vilapanam
Janma
Karma
Vilapanam
Santam cha Panduputranam
Samcha Panduputranam
Vakshe Krishna Katodhayam.
Vakshe Krishna
Katodayam.
Katodayam.
Yeah, please read. Sri Vidya Kaveri Mataji,
Yes, Prabhu.
please read the translation.
Okay, 1 second. The translation. Sutta Goswami thus addressed the rishis ahead. My pronunciation is not that great, Prabhu. Okay, headed by Saunaka. Now I shall begin the transcendental narration of Lord Krishna and topics of the birth, activities, and deliverance of King Parikshit, the sage amongst kings, as well as topics of renunciation of the worldly order by the sons of Pandu.
Yeah. So now Sukadeva Goswami is going to talk about the birth and activities of King Parikshit. Even the stories of devotees are Bhagavatam because they are going to, they're as good as the pastimes of Lord because their life was fully dedicated for the Lord. And so it is equivalent in potency to purify the heart. Yeah. Okay, so there is now, we'll not read these verses, we'll directly read some of these translations when again context comes when I'll ask one of you to read. So, Sri Vidya Mataji, can you read? Let's go to the translation directly. You are still muted. Sri Vidya Mataji, are you here? Okay, we'll come back. Sneha Mataji, can you read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yes.
Yeah.
When the respective warriors of both camps, namely the Kauravas and the Pandavas, were killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and the dead warriors obtained their deserved destinations, and when the son of Dhritarashtra fell down lamenting, his spine broken, being beaten by the club of Bhimsena, the son of Dronacharya, Ashwathama beheaded the 5 sleeping sons of Draupadi and delivered the heads as a prize to his master, foolishly thinking that he would be pleased. Duryodhana, however, disapproved of the heinous act, and he was not pleased in the least.
So after the war was almost over, when Duryodhana, he was also defeated by Bhima, and he was thrown into water. He was just, almost about to die. He was, beaten on his, leg. He's about to die, and the son of Dronacharya, who was fighting on the side of Kauravas, Ashwadhama, he heinously did a very bad act. He went to the Pandavas camp and beheaded all the children of Draupadi, the next generation. His idea is, okay, if we are defeated, let the other party also completely, let there be no heir to the kingdom. That was his idea. So he just beheaded all the sons of Draupadi, right? So, and then he takes the heads and as a, wanted to show his master Duryodhana in the waters, right? But Duryodhana was not at all happy. First thing is, it's not the right way of fighting. It's a violation of the code of conduct for any war, right? So he was not very happy at all. He was quite displeased by the act of Ashwadhama. One is that is, it's a wrong action. Second is, ultimately somebody should be ruling from the family, either Kaurava or Pandava. Now this guy eliminated.
Damian.
now this destruction caused everybody's loss. It was not a good experience. He doesn't want. He didn't want that kind of a thing. He wanted at least somebody to be ruling the world, right? So if nobody is there, then it's not a good situation.
Oh, I have a question here on the Duryodhan's like approval disapproval. Reason I'm asking this because as I learned or I kind of hear from some of the Bhagavatam stories, like Duryodhan wanted to kill Pandavas at any cost.
Right.
He poisoned Bhim, so that was also not very nice act. Then he wanted to kill Pandavas in the Lakshagruha. So and
Yeah,
then
that
he
is
got,
another reason actually. Good, you brought that point.
yes, and also in the
Killing of Pandavas, not the children of Pandavas. He has no enmity for them. He wanted the Pandavas to be killed, and now this guy actually killed the sons of Pandavas, which is not his. Yeah, that's the third reason that. Thanks for bringing that. He's after Pandavas. He's not after the children of Pandavas. So that was the third reason that he was not happy about this.
But then Abhimanyu also got killed in a not a right way, right? They did not follow the rules.
Yeah, that was another violation. Yeah, that was.
So
Yeah.
how come like he's approving, not approving? Like what kind of quality Duryodhan is carrying here to exhibit that he's
Now
disapproving?
the war is over. It's almost done. They are defeated. That time he was still acting. He was now at least he's almost about to die. At this time, at the moment of death, there is some sanity that comes.
I see. Got it.
So that is how he's behaving better way here.
So does it like mean he's losing his immunity against Pandavas now?
No. If he had killed all the Pandavas, he would have been happy actually.
Got it.
Yeah, but because the children were innocent, they are not part of this whole political this thing, and this guy killed the children, which is not the proper action.
Thank you.
He disapproved the heinous act and was not pleased in the least. Okay. Yeah, so that's what Prabhupada nicely explains. Bhagavatam, Lord's, can you read, Mataji, from here to, yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. The Gita is Krishna Katha or topics of Krishna because it is spoken by the Lord. And the Bhagavatam is also Krishna Katha because it is spoken about the Lord. Lord Sri Chaitanya Prabhu, Mahaprabhu, wanted everyone to be informed of both Krishna Kathas by his order. Lord Krishna Chaitanya is Krishna himself in the garb of a devotee of Krishna, and therefore the versions of both the Lord and Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are identical.
Yeah. Let's continue with the story directly instead of words here. Yeah, Priti Mataji. Yeah, please read this. Translation directly.
Mother of 5 children of the Pandavas, after hearing of the massacre of her sons, began to cry in distress with eyes full of tears. Trying to pacify her in her great loss, Arjuna spoke to her thus.
Yeah, naturally, after hearing the news about the death of 5 children, Draupadi was full of tears as a mother. And Arjuna immediately speaks to pacify her. Yeah, please read. Srividya Mataji, are you here? Okay. Rekha Mataji, please read.
Yes, Prabhuji. O gentle lady, when I present you with the head of that Brahmana, after beheading him with arrows from my Gandiva bow, I shall then wipe the tears from your eyes and pacify you. Then, after burning your sons' bodies, you can take your bath standing on his head.
Wow. So basically, That's the Kshatriya spirit. Immediately he promised so that Draupadi would feel, at least some kind of a for this heinous act, at least some kind of a relief. Right? He's promising that he's going to kill him, behead him, and then you can stand and take bath. So please read this one.
An enemy who sets fire to the house, administers poison, attacks all of a sudden with deadly weapons, plunders wealth, or usurps agricultural fields, or entices one's wife is called an aggressor. Such an aggressor, though he be a Brahmana or a so-called son of a Brahmana, has to be punished in all circumstances.
An aggressor can be punished without any. So whatever Arjuna is going to do, even though the Aswadhama is the son of his teacher, his spiritual his teacher, it is still righteous to kill him because he is an aggressor. He killed the sons, right, without any provocation. Yeah, let's read this one. Iti priyam valgu vichitra jalpai.
Iti priyam valgu vichitra jalpai.
Sasantayat yitva chutamitra suta.
Sasandvayitva Chyutamitra Suta
Anvadravada smitavugradhanva.
Anvadravadham Shitavugradhanva
Vajo guru putram rathena.
Kapidvajo Guru Putram Rathena.
Yeah. Nalini Mataji.
Arjuna, who is guided by the infallible Lord as friend and driver, thus satisfied the dear lady by such statements. Then he dressed in armor and armed himself with furious weapons, and getting into his chariot, he set out to follow Ashwadhama, the son of his martial teacher.
He's immediately jumped into action, Arjuna. Right? So, by the way, this is the first verse introducing Krishna. How was he introduced?
Like Parthasarathi.
Yeah, he was introduced as Parthasarathi, as in a way, son of his devotee. As generally, in the South India, especially, whenever in a movie, whenever the hero is introduced, it's a very graphical. You would see, for example, Rajinikanth is coming for the first time in the movie. It's very graphical. They will show the footsteps. The whole focus is on how grandiose was the hero. Right? But here, Lord Krishna was introduced for the first time in this entire literature. But he was introduced as the servant, as a chariot driver, as servant of his devotee, Arjuna. Right? So that is the difference. Yeah, this verse we can just read this. Suji Mataji, please read.
Ashwatthama, the murderer of the prince, seeing from a great distance Arjuna coming at him with great speed, fled in his chariot, panic-stricken, just to save his life, as Brahma fled in fear from Shiva.
So at one point, Brahma fled from the fear of Shiva, because Brahma, I think the story is here, Brahma was attracted to his own daughter, and seeing this, Lord Shiva was quite ferocious, and looking at Shiva, Brahma fled away. So that was related here. And similarly, Ashwadhama who, he did a very bad action here. So as soon as he saw Arjuna, he just got fear-stricken, panic-stricken, anxiety. And just to save his life, he just flew away from that place. Yeah. Can you read this one? There is another story also.
With what is that? Vidyamali. Oh,
There was a demon by the name Vidyunmali. Yeah.
Vidyamali. Okay. So who was
Mali.
okay, Vidyamali, who was gifted with a glowing airplane. Okay, sorry. I was just zoomed in. There was a demon by the name Vidyamali who was gifted with a glowing golden airplane which traveled to the back of the sun, and the night disappeared because of the glowing effulgence of this plane. Thus, the sun god became angry. With his virulent rays, he melted the plane. This enraged Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva then attacked the sun god, who fled away and at least fell down at Kashi, Varanasi, and the place became famous as Lolakara.
Again, this is another story when Lord Shiva was angry at sun god, because sun god punished his student, right? So there was a demon who was flying behind sun god in a golden airplane, and he made the nights disappear because of his glow. And sun god was upset with him, and he destroyed him. And then, because Lord Shiva was master of this demon, he ran behind sun god. And again, it was another story of fear and how people ran away, just like Brahma's story here. Yada sharanam
Yada
Sharanam
Tata Shranta Vajinam
Vaikshata Shranta Vajinam
Astram Brahma Shiro Mene
Astram Brahma Shiro Mene
Atma Pranam Dvijatmajaha
Atmatranam Dvijamajaha.
Yeah. Kaustubh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. When the son of Brahmana, Ashwatthama, saw that his horses were tired, he considered that there was no alternative for protection outside of his using the ultimate weapon, the Brahmastra, nuclear weapon.
See, now he knows that Lord Krishna was on the chariot, and he's the chariot driver, and Arjuna was furious. So he realized that there is no escape for him. So immediately he considered using Brahmastra, a nuclear weapon. So this is how a non-devotee behaves. When he is in anxiety, when he is in tension, when he thinks that situation is out of control, what is he doing? He's trying to somehow protect. He doesn't consider what is going on, whether it is right or wrong. He just want to destroy the using this nuclear weapon, Brahmastra. We can relate to how the world is operating right now, with Putin now very much decided to destroy Ukraine. We know, right? So if there is no recourse, when they were provoked, they go to the end. Because of ego, they just go to the end of it. This is how a non-devotee reacts. We'll see how Arjuna reacts. Now he is throwing Brahmastra. You will see a complete contrast in the behavior of Arjuna, how he responds to it. Then if Brahmastra is coming, it's a threat to his life, right? But you see how contrastly he behaves at the time. Right? Can you continue, Prabhu, this?
Sure. In the ultimate issue only, when there is no alternative, the nuclear weapon called Brahmastra is applied. The word Dvijatmaja is significant here because Ashwatthama although the son of Dronacharya was not exactly a qualified Brahmana. The most intelligent man is called Brahmana, and it is not a hereditary title.
Here, Ashwadhama was referred as Dvijatmajaha. The reason is he's a Brahma Bandhu. He's not a Brahmana because of his way of behavior. He's not Brahminical. He's not thoughtful. He's just trying to destroy. Right? He's called Dvijatmajaha. Generally, if situations go out of control, materialistic people do two things. One is they're ready to destroy the opposite party, just like how Vladimir Putin is going now. Or what else they do? They suicide. That's what Hitler did. You see, history repeats the same way because the behavior of the human psychology works exactly the same. Whether you go, that's why you can learn so many lessons from history, right? So this guy, he knows situation is out of control, and just to save his life, he just want to throw Brahmastra. He knows the position of Krishna and Arjuna, but still, he just want to destroy. We should not be surprised even something like that happens with Russia-Ukraine war now. They may go to any extent. It's just a matter of time. Things will get worse because people are not ready to compromise on their ego. That's history repeats. Atopasprisya salilam.
Atopaprasya salilam.
Sandhade tat samahitaha.
Sandhade tat samahitaha.
Ajanan abhisamharam.
Ajanan
Pranakritra upastite.
Pranakricha upastite.
Sharana Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Since his life was in danger, he touched water in sanctity and concentrated upon the chanting of the hymns for throwing nuclear weapons, although he did not know how to withdraw such weapons.
Yeah, he doesn't even know how to withdraw. Generally, Brahmastra, once you throw, you should have the potency to withdraw it. Just like how, even in the current times, people know how to throw the nuclear bomb. They don't know how to, get out of the destruction that is caused by these weapons, but they still throw it because it's their problem. We don't care. That's exactly the nature of materialistic people. Okay, let's read the translation directly. No need to read these verses right now. Chandana Mataji, can you read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Please read this translation.
Thereupon a glaring light spread in all directions. It was so fierce that Arjuna thought his own life in danger, and so he began to address Lord Krishna.
See, there was a glaring light, and naturally there is fear of life. But he is doing something else. He's not reacting immediately. We can learn a lesson from this. He is taking advice. He's doing something with Lord Krishna. Let's see what he does. Arjuna Uvacha.
Arjuna Uvacha.
Krishna Krishna Mahabaho.
Krishna Krishna Mahabaho.
Bhaktanam Abhayankara.
Bhaktanam Abhayankara.
Ameko Dahyamananam.
Ameko Dahyamananam.
Apavargosi Samashitaha.
Apavargosi Samshrutaya.
Yeah, beautiful verse. Krishna Krishna Mahabaho. O Almighty Lord, he knows the position of Krishna as the Almighty Lord. Bhaktanam Abhayankara. One who takes away the bhaya, the fear of his devotees. Bhaktanam Abhayankara. Twameko Dahyamananam. Twameko, you are the only one. who can take the sufferings of his devotees. Apavargo asi samsrite means open the path of liberation in the midst of the material miseries. Okay? Beautiful verse. Yeah. Sham Mukund Prabhu. Please read this. Arjuna said.
Prabhu, I'll read for him, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Arjuna said, "O my Lord Krishna, Sri Krishna, you are the almighty personality of Godhead. There is no limit to your different energies. Therefore, only you are competent to instill fearlessness in the hearts of your devotees. Everyone in the flames of material miseries can find path of liberation in you only."
Yeah, it's so thoughtful. He is not reacting. He is in fact taking dependence on his Lord. In spite of the imminent danger of the Brahmastra thrown at him, he was taking the time to actually pray to the Lord. Right? We can learn a lesson from this action by Arjuna in the midst of this greatest danger. Right? Yeah. Please continue.
A devotee of the Lord is always fearless because of the protection given by the Lord. Material existence is something like a blazing fire in the forest, which can be extinguished by the mercy of Lord Sri Krishna. The spiritual master is the mercy representative of the Lord. Therefore, a person burning in flames of material existence may receive the rains of mercy of the Lord through the transparent medium of self-realized spiritual master. The spiritual master, by his words, can penetrate into the heart of the suffering person and inject the knowledge of transcendental, which alone can extinguish the fire of material existence.
So what is the verse we read every day in the morning? This is just transliteration of Prabhupada of the same verse. What is that? I'm talking about spiritual master. Prayer.
Samsara
Right? So that is the exact thing Prabhupada said. So this world is like a forest fire. No one knows where is the beginning and how it can end. It's extremely dangerous, blazing fire. And dangers can come upon everybody anytime, right? Nobody expected a Ukrainian war, right? All the people in Ukraine today, they never expected this. Their families, so much destruction happened. So many people lost their livelihood, right? Similar things happen when there is a flood or earthquake or volcanic eruptions. When these calamities come, some man created and some natural, nobody is prepared for it. But a devotee, in spite of all these things, they take full shelter of Guru and Krishna. Even though we hear, until it comes to us, we don't really have the empathy for the real suffering that people are going through. But from scripture and from history, we can learn how this world is a dangerous place, and there is padam padam yad vipadam, right? So any moment there is a danger in this material existence, and one should take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master and the Supreme Lord. That is how we can become fearless in this world, right? So we see Ukrainian devotees. Their only request is pray for them so that they can always remember Lord. See, it was such a perfect prayer, correct? I was like so happy. I really wish that I can have such consciousness like them, even at least for a moment. Really, it's life-threatening situations. Some people are going through depression and suicide, but the devotees are happy. We saw one video of devotees dancing and distributing prasadam. They're actually, for them, it is like a yes, samsara dava. This is the realization of the truth. Yes, they're all so far reading theory. Now actually they're seeing in their life. So this this is the reality. The material existence is so temporary. Like so many billionaires have become paupers now. in Russia, right? Not it affected even Russians because their currency was totally dropped, like and all the businesses have stopped. Everybody rejected Russia. Nobody is doing businesses. Like such a danger for livelihood and normal existence of life in both Russia and US. Both countries were equally badly affected. Okay? So that's the nature of the material existence. And as a devotee, immediately he knows what to do. He didn't think for a second. He just surrendered to Krishna. Not only that, he continues for a few more verses. He continues his prayers further. Tvamadya Purusha Sakshat
Tvamadya Purusha Sakshat
Ishvara Prakrite Para
Ishvara Prakrite Para
Ayam Yudasya Chichakya
Mayam Yudasya Chichakya
Kaivalye Stita Atmani.
Kaivalye Stita Atmani.
So he further, glorifies the Supreme Lord. Yeah. Navadvip Prabhu. Please read.
Yes, bro. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, bro. Shall I read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation.
You are the original personality of Godhead who expands himself all over the creations and is transcendental to material energy. You have cast away the effects of the material energy by the dint of your spiritual potency. You are always situated in eternal bliss and transcendental knowledge.
So you have the potency to eliminate this illusory fear that I am going through. Right? You have cast away the effects of material energy by dint of your spiritual potency. Oh Lord, this is nothing for you. This, the situation I am facing right now. Mayam Yudasya Chichakya. With your spiritual potency, you can just destroy this this illusory existence. Right now, what is happening is he's just seeing a glaring light of Brahmastra. It's like an atom bomb exploded and it is coming on to him. So he's just praying to the Lord and taking shelter of him. Isvara Prakrite Para means you are the Supreme Lord who has control over all the material energy. What is so difficult for you? Yeah, please read this line.
The Lord states in the Bhagavad Gita that one who surrenders on to the lotus feet of the Lord can get release from the clutches of nature. Krishna is just like the sun, and Maya or material existence is just like darkness.
So if you look at this verse, translations, purport, each of this is a, is like a translation of one of the Bhagavad Gita verse. So what is this verse? Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. That verse.
Yeah.
So like that, again, like wherever there is the light of sun, darkness or ignorance at once vanishes. The best means to get out of the world of ignorance is suggested here. So in this way, if you look at this verse, I was reading through, everything was just a translation of some of the verses. That is how when a devotee, by dint of studying the scriptures, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, they become so absorbed in Krishna Katha, whatever they speak is direct words of Krishna or direct quotes from verses itself. So Prabhupada, whenever he writes, we can relate them to specific verses in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. Saeva jiva lokasya
Saeva
Jivalokasya
Maya mohita chetasaha
Maya Mohita Chetasaha
Haste svena viryena
Vidhase Svena Viryena
Veyo dharma dilakshanam
Shreyo Dharma Dilakshanam
Yeah, anybody want to read?
Yes, Prabhu.
You can go.
And yet, though you are beyond the purview of the material energy, you execute the four principles of liberation characterized by religion and so on for the ultimate good of the conditioned souls.
Yeah, it's just glorifying.
Yeah. The personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, out of his causeless mercy, descends to the manifested world without being influenced by the material modes of nature. He is eternally beyond the material manifestations. He descends out of his causeless mercy only to reclaim the fallen souls who are captivated by the illusionary energy.
Lord comes only to help us. There is no reason for it. Causeless mercy means there is no cause for it. There is no reason why he had to come to this world, but he comes out of his love and his concern for the conditioned souls in the material world, so that they will be attracted to him when they see him or when they hear about him.
Oh, one question. Always Prabhupada mentions that the Lord is not influenced by material modes of nature. But why will, I mean, I'm just getting this question. Why will the Lord ever get influenced by material modes of nature?
He will never be, but sometimes when we read in the scripture about the pastimes of the Lord, we may think, oh, Lord is getting influenced by like this. How come Lord is? So that Prabhupada is clarifying so that we don't get into such confusions. For example, when in the Damodara pastime, Lord was, Mother Yashoda was running behind Krishna with a stick, and Lord was crying, moving his eyes, he was running and escaping from Mother Yashoda. For a person who does not understand the nature and the supremacy of the Supreme Lord, Krishna, one may think, he's like ordinary boy who is just running, out of fear of his mother to avoid punishment. Right? So when we hear certain pastimes, we may be little bit subconsciously think that Lord is also like one of us, is just a little more powerful person. So to avoid those confusions, Acharyas repeatedly remind us that the Lord is beyond material, nature, so that we never get into that kind of a confusion or understanding.
Right. Fantastic. Just one more question which is coming in mind. As you mentioned, Krishna is crying and Mother Yashoda is running behind Krishna. We want to see that form. We want to relish that cute face. So how should we treat that? Should we feel that yes, I want to see the Lord where he's crying and he I don't know how to put it across. So where he's being chased by his mother. We want to see that, but
Yes.
is that consciousness right to see him in
It's
that
perfectly
form?
all right, because it is done for the pleasure of the Lord, and for it is an intimate pastime between devotee and his Lord and his devotee, and to have such kind of pastimes running in our heart, right? Remembering those pastimes will be a great pleasure for the devotee. So even the author of the verse says, "May this pastime may always stay in my heart." I just want this. I don't want anything else in this world. May this pastime of you crying when Mother Yashoda was running behind you may always stay in my heart. That was the prayer of the devotee also. So it's perfectly all right.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Prabhu, one more comment here to add. I don't know whether it makes sense, but Shakti Avesha Avatar, or specially empowered incarnations, they may get influenced by mode of material nature, but Lord himself will never ever get influence. Is that correct? To say it?
Like which example are you talking about, Parshuram?
No, what Prabhu has said, right? That Lord will never get influenced by the modes of material nature. So Sakti Avesha Avatar may get influenced by modes of nature.
Yeah, that is true.
But Lord himself will never.
Yeah, the Supreme Lord Vishnu Tattva will never be influenced.
Yes.
But other, sometimes empowered incarnations are the in charge of the modes, like Lord Shiva, right? Lord Shiva will be in touch with the mode of ignorance. Lord Brahma in charge of mode of passion. So we see this kind of a influence. But Vishnu Tattva, like Narsingadev or Vamana,
yes,
all these incarnations,
they are beyond this.
They are beyond the modes.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying.
Tathayam Chavatadarste
Tathayam chavataraste
Bhara Juhishraya
Bhara jiharshaya
Swanam Chananya Bhavanam
Swanam chananya bhavanam
Anudhyana Yacha Chashakrit Who is in iPhone? Can you read? Hare Krishna. Someone in iPhone. I don't know the name.
Prabhu, it's me, but did you want me to read the translation?
Yes, Nitiji.
Okay. Thus you descend as an incarnation to remove the burden of the world and to benefit your friends, especially those who are your exclusive devotees and are constantly wrapped in meditation upon you.
Yeah, Swanam Chana Ananya Bhavana. So especially a devotee who is completely absorbed in Arjuna is like a devotee who is completely absorbed in Krishna. Right? As soon as danger came, what did he do? He didn't, well, let me see this guy. Why did he even throw a Brahmastra at me? I know how to throw Brahmastra also. Let me fight it back. He didn't think like that. He immediately surrendered to Lord. Right? He wanted to depend on Lord's mercy. So, and he knows it is not my power. It's not that I am powerful, and today I can kill anybody. It is by the mercy of the Lord that I have all this power that I have today. It's not that I am something super powerful. Never, devotee never thinks that whatever he has in his position, the power or position or skills, they always think Lord has given me today, and I am not entitled for it. But if for a service the Lord has given this, and if I properly perform my service for the pleasure of the Lord, that is good use of my skills, and Lord may take away any time. And this stark realization he has when after Lord Krishna leaves the world, he goes to Dwaraka and brings the queens of Krishna, tries to bring them to Hastinapur. So in the pathway, he was fought by some regular, robbers, and they actually defeat Arjuna. At that time, he realizes, it's not my power that by which I could fight Kurukshetra war and win and be the greatest warrior of the world. It's by the potency of the presence of Krishna that I could defeat that time. And today Krishna is not there, and I have my power is powerless. I'm powerless. And so many lessons can we learn from Arjuna, and then he comes in that disappointment. He comes to Hastinapur, and he could have expressed his pain and suffering directly. When he comes with all this pain, with the defeat and also loss of Krishna, all of this, but still he bows down to Yudhishthira Maharaj. He follows the etiquette. So there are so many lessons. Just because I'm upset, I don't misbehave with devotees. Right? We can learn so many lessons on etiquette from Arjuna's behavior today. Right? So in the last few verses, we are seeing, in spite of imminent danger, he didn't stop following the etiquette. He was his first line of defense is taking shelter of Krishna. He took the shelter of Krishna. He praised him. He didn't, okay, Krishna protect me. No, he went on to speak a little bit about his own devotion to Krishna and the position of Krishna as the Bhaktavatsala, right? And then later on he expresses this actual problem. Yeah. Let's read the translation directly. Yeah. Please read. Anybody?
O Lord of Lords, how is it that this dangerous effulgence is spreading all around? Where does it come from? I do not understand it.
Yeah, he could have asked this question right away, right? See the behavior of Ashwadhama versus Arjuna as a devotee. This question, I mean, there is a very well-established relation between Krishna and Arjuna. Why would he have to do the prayers and surrender to Krishna before? He could have just spoken this verse directly, but he didn't. That is the way of behavior of a devotee. Even we should, practically take this lesson in our own life. And in spite of our own, we go through a lot of emotional turbulences on a daily basis. Don't ever succumb to our pains. Instead, always our first shelter is Krishna, right? So that is how we can really increase our surrender to Krishna.
Is it just because to distinguish between us and Lord and understand the position of the Lord?
Arjuna clearly knows that Krishna is the ultimate decider of any event. He knows, and he is with him. So, and Krishna is with us also. As much is available to Arjuna, so much is he available to us also. Correct? So because he's transcendental, even though he's not physically present before us, we can take shelter of Krishna with equivalent surrender. Anytime we are in difficulty or challenges. We see this repeatedly in the next few chapters as well. When Kunti Maharani, remembers after, when Uttara does the same thing. When her son was in danger, she wouldn't try to protect by her own means. She surrenders to Krishna right away. So like this, we can see from the examples of Pandavas and their family members how to behave like a devotee. A person surrendered to Krishna.
So Prabhu, if we don't know our own prayers, then we can recite their prayers, or?
Yeah, we can happily recite those prayers. That's why I always remember some important prayers, especially of Gajendra, Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Queen Kunti. Two verses.
Who has their own prayers, Prabhuji?
You never know, Mataji. There will be exalted devotees, they may come up with their own prayers.
Prabhuji asked if we don't have our own prayers, can we repeat their prayers? I was curious who has their own prayers.
We just follow in the footsteps of these great devotees. And they were empowered to speak like that. For example, Dhruva Maharaj or even Prahlad Maharaj, I was reading through recently, they were empowered by Lord to pray to them, pray to Lord. So definitely those are very, very potent prayers. We can just just keep hearing them. And by the way, some of the devotees have recited these prayers beautifully. You can just keep hearing them, and you will automatically learn over a period of time.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay, so just read this one and the class with this.
Anything that is presented before the personality of Godhead should be so done after due presentation of respectful prayers. That is the standard procedure. And Sri Arjuna, although an intimate friend of the Lord, is observing this method for general information.
Yeah. Okay, we understand from Arjuna's behavior how to conduct our etiquette with Lord. So, like for example, when we go to temple, don't just start telling about your problems. Right? That's how I used to be, like before at least coming to Krishna consciousness. Anytime I go, I just pour out your problems to the Lord. So we should, from Arjuna, we can learn this lesson on how to pray to the Lord. Right? So today we discussed further questions by Shaunaka Rishis. They wanted to, like the first question's answer was completed by the primary inspiration for the history of Srimad-Bhagavatam, inspiration for compiling it, and the whole history of how it came about and how Narada Muni inspired. All of that was covered. Now we are in the part where the history of Parikshit Maharaj was being discussed, beginning with the heinous act of Ashwadhama, where he tried to, he killed the sons of Pandavas, and how Krishna protected them. So we're going to learn further lessons in this direction. This is all about Parikshit Maharaj's entry of Parikshit Maharaj, how exactly Parikshit Maharaj came to a situation where he inquired about Srimad-Bhagavatam from Sukadeva Goswami. That's the history we're discussing at this point. Okay, thank you all very much. If you have any questions, we can discuss, or we can end the class if everything is good. So we'll end the class here if no questions. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.